Welcome to Storytelling and Beyond, where you are tuned to for yet another interesting emotional motivational story. Let's enjoy the story. The morning sun cast golden beams through the tall glass windows of the high-end corporate building, illuminating the polished marble floors and modern decor. The reception area was a display of elegance, crystal chandeliers, plush seating, and employees in sharp business attire moving with quiet efficiency. It was a world of power and prestige, and Vanessa Montgomery thrived in it. Dressed in a designer blazer and heels that clicked with authority against the pristine floor, she walked in as if she owned the place. Her presence demanded attention, not just for her wealth but for the way she carried herself, head high, eyes sharp, with a confidence bordering on arrogance. Her meeting was scheduled with one of the most influential executives in the city, someone who could take her business connections to new heights. She had no patience for delays, no tolerance for inefficiency, and most certainly, no respect for those who didn't meet her standards of perfection. As she approached the front desk, her confident expression shifted slightly, her gaze narrowing in mild distaste. The receptionist, Lily, sat behind the counter, typing away on her computer. Lily's features bore the marks of past hardship, faint scars on her cheek, a slightly uneven complexion, and a simplicity in her demeanor that didn't fit the high-end surroundings. Vanessa's lips curled into an almost imperceptible sneer. She tapped the counter with manicured fingers. "I have a meeting with Mr. Sinclair." "Vanessa Montgomery," she announced, as if the very mention of her name should elicit immediate action. Lily looked up and met Vanessa's gaze with a calm, professional smile. "Good morning, Ms. Montgomery. I'll just confirm your appointment." She turned to her screen, fingers moving efficiently over the keyboard. Vanessa, however, had already lost interest in her words. She was too busy scrutinizing Lily's appearance, taking in every perceived flaw. Her own reflection in the glass panel beside the desk was flawless, high cheekbones, expensive makeup, a perfectly curated image of success. And then there was Lily, ordinary, unpolished, forgettable. Her voice dripped with condescension. "You know, presentation matters in a place like this. First impressions count." She eyed Lily's plain attire, her lack of expensive jewelry, her untouched simplicity. "I mean, no offense, but, well, appearances do reflect capability, don't they?" Lily's hands paused briefly on the keyboard, but her expression remained composed. There was a flicker of something in her eyes, a moment of quiet pain, but it was gone in an instant. She met Vanessa's gaze steadily. "I believe professionalism and kindness make a bigger impact than looks, Ms. Montgomery." Vanessa let out a soft, dismissive chuckle. "That's a nice thought," she said, her tone dripping with insincerity. "But in the real world, people judge. And trust me, in a place like this, presentation speaks louder than words." She turned slightly, tossing her hair over her shoulder. "Just some advice." Lily simply nodded, offering no retort, no visible reaction. There was a quiet strength in her silence, an unshaken dignity that Vanessa didn't notice, at least, not yet. Vanessa exhaled impatiently. "Well, is my appointment confirmed?" Lily glanced at the screen and then back at Vanessa. "Mr. Sinclair's assistant is just finalizing the schedule. There might be a slight delay." Vanessa let out a sharp, incredulous laugh. "A delay? Unbelievable." She crossed her arms. "Let me guess. More incompetence." Lily simply offered another polite smile, unaffected by the insult. "Would you like to wait in the lounge? I can inform you as soon as Mr. Sinclair is ready." Vanessa rolled her eyes, grabbing her designer handbag with unnecessary force. "Fine," she muttered, stalking off toward the waiting area. As she walked away, she didn't notice the glances exchanged between other employees, the way a few shook their heads subtly, disappointed by what they had just witnessed. She didn't see the way Lily took a slow breath, regaining her composure, or the faint, knowing smile that touched the receptionist's lips. Because what Vanessa didn't know was that the world she believed she controlled was about to shift beneath her feet. And soon, she would learn that true worth is never measured by appearance, but by the quiet power of dignity and grace. Vanessa sat in the plush waiting lounge, her manicured fingers drumming impatiently against the glass coffee table. The luxurious leather armchair beneath her was as soft as the seats in her private car, but she wasn't comfortable. She hated waiting. She glanced at her watch, a sleek designer piece worth more than what some people made in a month. 10 minutes had passed. 10 whole minutes. Unacceptable. Her gaze flickered back to the reception desk where Lily continued her work, unfazed by Vanessa's earlier remarks. The woman carried herself with quiet confidence, her focus unwavering as she assisted other visitors. Something about her calm demeanor irritated Vanessa. She had expected a reaction: embarrassment, insecurity, maybe even gratitude for the unsolicited advice she had given. Instead, Lily had simply carried on, her expression unreadable. Vanessa sighed dramatically and stood up, her heels clicking against the polished marble as she strode toward the desk again. "Excuse me," she said, her voice sharp. "Are they planning to keep me waiting all day?" Lily looked up, offering the same patient, professional smile. "I understand your frustration, Ms. Montgomery. Mr. Sinclair's assistant is making adjustments to the schedule, but I assure you it won't be much longer." Vanessa let out a scoff. "Unbelievable. Do you people not understand the importance of time management? I have other commitments, you know. Not everyone can afford to waste their day doing nothing." Lily's expression remained neutral, but there was something in her eyes, something quiet yet firm. "I understand, ma'am. I do my best to ensure every guest is accommodated fairly." Vanessa narrowed her eyes. Something about the way Lily said that irked her. It was a simple statement, yet it carried a subtle weight, as if she were implying that all guests, whether rich, poor, beautiful, or ordinary, deserved the same respect. The thought annoyed Vanessa even more. With an exasperated sigh, she folded her arms. "You know, I really don't understand how people like you get jobs in places like this." Lily blinked but said nothing. "I mean," Vanessa continued, lowering her voice slightly but keeping the sharpness intact, "this is a high-profile business. The front desk is the first impression people get when they walk in. And let's be honest, presentation is everything. Some people just don't belong in certain environments." There it was again, that flicker in Lily's eyes. Not anger. Not hurt. Something deeper. A knowing look, as if she had heard these words before but had long since learned to rise above them. Before she could respond, a sudden voice interrupted. "Vanessa Montgomery?" Vanessa turned, her expression immediately shifting into a charming smile. A young assistant stood nearby, holding a tablet. "Mr. Sinclair is ready to see you now." Finally, Vanessa muttered, tossing her hair back. She threw one last glance at Lily, as if expecting a reaction. She got none. As she walked toward the executive's office, she didn't notice the way the assistant exchanged a glance with Lily, the way he gave her a slight nod, as if acknowledging something unspoken. She didn't hear the quiet sighs from nearby employees who had witnessed the exchange. And she certainly didn't realize that the delay wasn't an accident. Because soon, the power dynamic she thought she controlled would shift in a way she never saw coming. Vanessa stepped into Mr. Sinclair's grand office, her confidence restored. The space was a masterpiece of luxury, floor-to-ceiling windows offering a breathtaking cityscape, a sleek black desk that commanded authority, and soft leather chairs designed for power meetings. Mr. Sinclair, a sharp-eyed man in his late 50s, sat behind the desk, reviewing a document on his tablet. His tailored suit, silver cufflinks, and controlled demeanor radiated influence. As Vanessa approached, he looked up and gave her a polite nod. "Ms. Montgomery," he greeted, gesturing for her to sit. "Apologies for the wait." Vanessa smiled, slipping into the chair with practiced ease. "Of course. I understand how busy a man of your stature must be." He didn't acknowledge the flattery. Instead, he studied her with an unreadable expression. "I appreciate your time. Let's get right to it." Vanessa leaned forward slightly, prepared to showcase her charm, her ideas, her polished pitch. This meeting was meant to secure a lucrative collaboration, one that would elevate her influence in the corporate world. But as Mr. Sinclair scrolled through his tablet, a slight furrow formed between his brows. "Before we proceed, I'd like to ask about something." Vanessa kept her smile intact. "Of course." He set the tablet down, lacing his fingers together. Tell me, Ms. Montgomery, how do you treat people? The question caught her off guard. She blinked. Excuse me? He leaned back, studying her. How do you treat those around you, employees, staff, people in service roles? Vanessa let out a soft, confused chuckle. Well, I treat them as professionals. I expect efficiency, competence, and a high standard, as any leader should. Mr. Sinclair nodded slightly. Interesting. And would you say you lead with respect? Vanessa felt a flicker of unease. This wasn't the direction she had expected. Of course, she replied smoothly. Mutual respect is key in business. Mr. Sinclair held her gaze for a long moment. Then, with a calm yet firm voice, he said, I see. Because before this meeting, I had a conversation with someone whose opinion I value greatly. Someone who interacts with people every day and sees them for who they truly are, not just who they pretend to be in meetings. Vanessa's stomach tightened slightly. Mr. Sinclair continued, his voice even. Lily, the receptionist you met earlier, has been working here for years. She has an impeccable reputation for handling clients with grace and professionalism. She is also someone whose insights I trust. Vanessa's throat went dry. She informed me about your interaction with her earlier, he said, watching her reaction carefully. And I must say, I find it concerning. Vanessa's mind raced. She forced a small, dismissive laugh. Oh, that? I think there's been some misunderstanding. I was simply offering advice, constructive feedback, if you will. Mr. Sinclair's expression didn't change. You judged her on appearance. You dismissed her worth based on superficial standards. That is not leadership, Ms. Montgomery. That is arrogance. Vanessa's fingers tightened around her handbag. Mr. Sinclair, I assure you. He held up a hand. No need to assure me. I've already made my decision. The words sent a chill through her. I do not do business with people who lack basic human decency, he said simply. If you cannot respect those who work to make this company run, then you have no place here. Vanessa's face drained of color. You're canceling our deal? He met her gaze without hesitation. Yes. Silence. Vanessa felt the world shift beneath her. This was supposed to be her moment, her victory. Instead, she was being dismissed as if she were insignificant. Her lips parted, searching for words, but none came. Mr. Sinclair picked up his tablet again. Thank you for your time, Ms. Montgomery. You can see yourself out. She sat frozen for a moment, disbelief washing over her. Then, stiffly, she rose from the chair, her mind reeling. As she turned toward the door, she saw Lily through the glass panel, calmly assisting another visitor. And for the first time, Vanessa understood that true power was never in appearances, but in the quiet strength of those who carried themselves with dignity, no matter how they were treated. Vanessa walked out of Mr. Sinclair's office in a daze, her designer heels clicking against the marble floor. This was supposed to be her biggest deal yet, the one that solidified her place among the elite. Instead, she had been dismissed, humiliated, all because of that receptionist. Her heart pounded as she moved through the hallway. She could feel the eyes of employees on her, subtle glances exchanged between them. Were they whispering about her? Had Lily told everyone? No. That wasn't possible. And yet, as she passed by the front desk, she saw Lily standing there, still composed, still exuding that quiet strength Vanessa had overlooked before. Their eyes met. For the first time in a long time, Vanessa didn't have the upper hand. She hesitated for half a second, considering her next move. She could ignore Lily, storm out, pretend none of this had happened. But something in her gut told her that wouldn't change anything. Taking a deep breath, she forced a tight smile and approached the desk. I suppose you're proud of yourself, she said, keeping her voice low but firm. Lily looked at her with the same calm expression. Proud, she repeated, tilting her head slightly. I did nothing except my job. Vanessa let out a small scoff. Right. And yet, somehow, your job involved ruining a business deal I worked months to secure. Lily's expression didn't waver. I didn't ruin anything, Ms. Montgomery. Mr. Sinclair values integrity. He made his decision based on what he believes is best for his company. Vanessa clenched her jaw. So, what? You think you're better than me now? Lily sighed, but there was no arrogance in her demeanor. No. I don't think I'm better than anyone. I just believe that how we treat people, especially those who can do nothing for us, says everything about who we are. Something about those words struck deep, cutting through Vanessa's defensive wall. For years, she had believed that power came from status, from wealth, from being the most important person in the room. But today, for the first time, she was beginning to wonder if she had misunderstood power entirely. A tense silence passed between them. Vanessa searched for something, anything, to say that would restore her dominance, but nothing came. Then, before she could stop herself, the words slipped out. I didn't mean to, she trailed off, swallowing hard. She never apologized. Not to people beneath her. But right now, she wasn't sure who was beneath whom anymore. Lily simply nodded, as if she already understood. Have a good day, Ms. Montgomery. Vanessa hesitated a moment longer before stepping back, feeling something unfamiliar settle in her chest, a strange mix of shame and reluctant respect. She turned and walked toward the exit, the weight of the conversation lingering in her mind. She had spent her whole life looking down on people. But now, for the first time, she was starting to look within. Vanessa stepped out of the towering office building, the crisp afternoon air hitting her face. The weight in her chest was heavier than ever, but it wasn't just from the failed deal, it was from something deeper, something unsettling. For years, she had moved through life believing she was untouchable, that power meant control, that wealth defined worth. But today, she had been proven wrong in a way that cut deeper than any business loss ever could. She walked toward her car, each step echoing with thoughts she didn't want to face. She had humiliated Lily over something as trivial as appearance, believing that status made her superior. But Lily had something Vanessa didn't, self-respect that wasn't tied to external validation. As Vanessa reached her car, she caught sight of her reflection in the tinted window. For the first time, she saw not the polished, successful woman she had always projected, but someone uncertain, someone flawed, someone who had been blind to her own arrogance. She closed her eyes and let out a slow breath. This wasn't just about a receptionist or a lost deal. This was about the kind of person she had become. A sudden vibration in her handbag broke her thoughts. She pulled out her phone, her mother's name flashing across the screen. Vanessa hesitated before answering. Mom? Oh, sweetheart, I just saw the news. Her mother's voice was gentle but cautious. Your deal with Sinclair, are you okay? Vanessa had spent her whole life pretending to be okay, putting on a mask of confidence no matter what. But today, for some reason, she didn't have the energy to pretend. I don't know, she admitted quietly. I really don't. Her mother sighed. Maybe, this is a good thing. Vanessa frowned. How is losing everything a good thing? You didn't lose everything, Vanessa, her mother said softly. Maybe you just lost what was never worth keeping. The words settled deep inside her. Maybe for the first time, she understood what truly mattered. She looked up at the towering building once more. Power wasn't in wealth. Strength wasn't in dominance. Real worth came from character, from kindness, from how you treated people when no one was watching. For the first time in her life, Vanessa didn't feel powerful. But maybe, just maybe, she was finally becoming something better. And with that thought, she opened her car door and drove away, not toward another deal or another high-profile event, but toward something she had ignored for far too long, a chance to change. Sometimes, life teaches lessons in the harshest ways, but the real power lies in whether we choose to listen. This was a story of arrogance, of loss, and of awakening. If it made you feel something, if it reminded you of the power of kindness, then don't forget to subscribe to Storytelling and Beyond, where every story leaves a lesson that lingers long after it ends. See you in the next one.